Hey YouTube, welcome to Beyond the Hype. And this is basically something that I just kind of created to put expectations into sort of reality here, where we got this big move update yesterday. And you know what? There are substantial changes, but there are also a lot of moves that got updated that will actually not have that much of an effect on the meta. And you need to know that because, again, I'm a free to play player and there are changes that are made that sure there's nerfs, but they actually don't affect that Pokemon too much and you can still use them. And then there's other Pokemons that got nerfed. It's like, oh yeah, that is substantial. So I'm actually gonna go through what happened. I'll go through all the information. We'll go over pros and cons of not only the battles, the Pokemon new moves and nerfs and buffs, but we will go over the actual season because I have comments there and the timelines of the season because I have comments on there. So timestamp below for all of these because we're going to go through all of them in different order here. I'm just going to start with the broad season. I'm not even going to cover. I'm not even going to cover the new Pokemon yet because there's already a couple events announced. I'm going to let those go because I will cover them more in depth as we get closer. So, like again, if you want a full calendar, it is down here. We're not worried about that. The only thing I actually want to cover in this is all the way down at the bottom here is the seasonal bonuses. And I guess this is for ants. So it's not surprising that we lost the XL guarantee of trading. The problem was they've been on a rotation, and it's every other one it switches. So you had no guaranteed XL 4 seasons ago. You had no, I guess 3. You had you had XL guaranteed. 2, you did not. Last season you had XL guaranteed for trade. This season you do not. So immediately it already limits people's ability to sort of power up Pokemon for sort of Ultra League and Master League. Those guaranteed trade XLs were key to get those powered up Pokemon. So that gone is not great. In other seasons, what they've had is some sort of like they had bonus Stardust for rocket encounters, which they had more often one season. And they had other dust bonuses before in the past too. So between the XL dust and the dust bonuses, which you need for that, none of that's here. So you can open up to 40 gifts per day. You can send. It says send up to 40 a day. You can send 100. So it's clearly a mistake. That just means you can hold 40 per day instead of 20. Increase damage when participating in raids with friends, and increase XP for going up a friendship level. So someone on my Twitter was like, "Well, XP affects everyone except for level 50, and XL Candy only affects level 40 and above." And I disagree with that because, I mean, yes, XL Candy is only affected by level 40 and above because you do need to be level 40 to get XL Candy. But XP is also useless for 40 and above because XP, the only thing that actually changes is that number 40, 41, 42. And again, you can get some of like the not bonuses. You get like the tasks, you get rewards and stuff like that. So maybe from that perspective, sure, XP helps those 40, 41. But XP level 40 does not stop you from powering a Pokemon to level 50. Once you hit level 40, you can power a Pokemon to level 50. The only thing that's stopping you is Stardust and XL Candy, right? So that is where I disagree with that, and that is why these seasonal bonuses to me are pathetic. Like, I don't care about these. Again, the eggs are always bad. I was going to talk about the research breakthrough is still terrible. So again, it's kind of like the actual season itself for me is kind of bad. But we'll see what happens during each of these weekly events. Each of these weekly events are hit and miss, so we'll cover those when they get there. Okay, Go Battle League. So the first thing I'm going to talk about is the leagues. And even though they did their best to just go great Ultra Master, basically all the way through, they messed this up quite big in terms of accessibility for Great League. And what I mean by this is, so I mentioned if you watched my video on how to make Pokemon Go like GBL better, I put that a video a couple days ago. And basically what I said is, last season they had like 13, 14 straight weeks there was either a Great League or a Little Cup. And although the Great League was limited, it had like single typing cup or a typing with like 3 or 4 typing, a limited cup with like 3 or 4 typings in it, which was not bad. Here they went Great League, so they did go Great League, Ultra League, Master League just to rotate that, and they did acknowledge, hey, last week let's grind. So this is the bonus here. there's two huge issues I have. One is the second last week is just catch cup with no other option. So in this, there was at least the Master League option. But now there's no option. So if you don't have Pokemon built up this season, you're just going to lose dust the second last week of the season. Like lose rating the second last week of the season. So I really don't like that it's only catch cup. I think catch cup is one of the worst because it doesn't reward people. It just rewards those who have built up during the season. It doesn't reward your Great League overall because you could have had Pokemon for 4, especially with move updates. You probably have Gligars and stuff sitting around that have not been built up yet, so you want to build them up now, but now you need to catch new ones to be able to build them up. So I really hate this week. The fact that it's limited to that is pathetic. What else is pathetic is the fact that they decided, I've always, you hear me rant, single typings. So I said single typings and there's single typing cup. So let me differentiate this. There is the single typing cup. Let's see if it's on this season. It is not. So single typing cup was a cup where you can only use one Pokemon that had only one typing. So you couldn't use Swampert, which is ground and water. You could only use like a Hypno, which was only psychic. So that was the single typing cup. What I mean by single typing cup now is Psychic Cup. Basically, you're only having Pokemon with one typing in these. And these are the most limited cups Niantic has ever put out. There is 5 to 7 Pokemon that everyone uses and that dominate 95% of the matchups. You really can't use anything outside the top 7 Pokemon. And unfortunately, we have right here a Master League with one of those single typing cups. And then there was another one. Yes, November 10th. Ultra League with an Electric Great League. And same thing, a single typing Electric Cup where you're going to be limited to like 7 Pokemon. So basically, they killed 2 weeks here, right? They killed a Master League week where you're going to have to play in a league where there's only like 7 viable Pokemon. And they killed an Ultra League week where there's only 7 viable Pokemon in Great League. So they just killed accessibility in 1, 2, and then this catch cup. Three out of the weeks is just basically killed for accessibility for Pokemon. If you want to grind those. Other than that, I do like the Great League Ultra League Master League rotation. That one is on every, like just go filter through. I think that's good. I like that it ends in that. So that is all positive. I just hate these. I hate these one typing cups. Hate them. And they have it on twice, right? And the problem is it's on twice. These are on twice. Psychic Cup Great League Edition is on for 2 weeks straight. Luckily, there's Open Great League there, so everyone's going to be playing that. But, like, why would you have it 2 weeks straight? And same with the Electric Cup. Why would you have it? It's lazy thinking. This is just, like, recycling old cups that they've had, that they've used in the past, that has a Great League attached to it, thinking, like, oh, we're giving people a Great League option. But it's not. It's lazy. It does not help people because there's only, like, 6, 7 Pokemon that dominate, and no one's going to be playing this cup. So, very, very disappointed. But there was only one Go Battle Day weekend, 7th and 8th, which is also Thanksgiving in Canada weekend, so that is unfortunate, but same thing there. Rewards, nice to see a Carbink at rank 6 already, right? So if you need a few more of those to grind up, since it's now rank 1, we'll go over that in a minute. I'm not going to cover most of this stuff. We will go over again, I put out videos every week of top teams, so I'm going to put out top teams tomorrow for week 1, Great League and Element Cup Remix. So I'll put out top teams for tomorrow for both of those. What I also don't like is league turnovers now on Friday. And again, this is just unlucky with the schedule. It starts on September 1st, starts on a Friday, which is very, very unfortunate from a content creator's perspective, because Friday at like 2 o'clock to like the weekend is kind of like the worst time for YouTube views. Because again, I don't personally watch YouTube on the weekend. I'm just like with kids and stuff like that. So a lot of people aren't watching it on the weekend. But now we have league turnover where you essentially need to put up top teams on a Friday where people like are logging off in the afternoon, and then your first go around is Saturday morning when a lot of people aren't watching. So from that perspective, it sucks. Again, there's not much they can do. It's the first, but I really don't like that either. But let's go with that I do like, and we are going down to all these move updates. So there are 3 new attacks. Some of them, I think all 3 of them have had their statuses leaked. I'm because I can easily go over these, and I will go over these because I know which Pokemon that are affected here. I'm going to go over those in 1 second. Let me just bring up this for 1 second. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to link this in my description because Stadium Gaming, sort of one of the only pros of not being able to put out a video this morning when this news dropped, is it provided time for these amazing people. Again, all Goddess, PVPOKE, Tangent, like all these people, very, very, very strong in GBL and very strong in understanding the meta and what this does. Put up a great article about like everything that is affected here. So if you wanted to go just get their perspective on Sky Attack damage and how it affects the meta and overall, definitely read this. They have the path never traveled, and this is it. Basically, like, here are the new moves. Here's they're giving it to. Here's where it could work. So I'll do my best there, but if you want to just see what theirs is, again, I've seen Ampharos and Skunk Tank talked about millions of times, and they highlight it here too. So definitely go give that a look. So I'll talk about that when I see who gets their charge moves. But here we go. Here are the big ones that everyone is talking about. Spark. So they actually talk about Spark here in the fact that you actually need to decrease Spark's energy by 2. So what you're seeing is, so Spark is getting its power increase from 2 to 6, so 4 to 6. They need to drop it by 2 because if they only drop it by 1, it becomes a buff essentially. So they need to drop this by 2. And what that will do, it will, again, this is a direct attack on, so I actually nailed 3 things here. I said in my video last week talking about like what they're gonna nuke, nerf and buff. I said they're gonna nerf Psychic because that's the only thing that affects Medicham that you can do without nerfing Counter and Ice Punch. I said they're gonna buff Bug. X-Scissor is one I gave an example from, so there it is there. And I said they were gonna go after Lanturn too, except I said they'd go after Surf. They went after Spark, which is interesting. So there's 2 things that happened here. One is this is a direct attack on Lanturn. So with this energy decrease, power increase, sure, but this looks familiar to what we saw with Trevenant. Power increase on Seed Bomb, so it hits harder, but the energy generation, sorry, it was for, so I guess it's not the same, but on Trevenant, it was it cost more to get to, yeah, which is the same thing here, essentially. So it cost, slightly different. Let me explain. In Trevenant, it was increased damage for Seed Bomb, but it took longer to get to. So the energy required was higher. Here, what you're doing is you're decreasing the energy on Spark. So what that basically means is it's going to take longer to get to your charge move. So that's how it's similar in that perspective. So from that perspective, they are nerfing Lanturn. How they're changing it is because there are other Pokemon, obviously in the Great League, that have Spark. And a lot of them, they gave, what they did was they gave Volt Switch. So they gave Volt Switch to, so you see Spark here on Magnezone, Luxray, and a few others. Looks like some of these are already using their other moves. They gave those Pokemon Volt Switch. So basically they're attacking just this Spark on Lanturn. The problem is, why, so this will have an effect on it to a certain extent. I don't think it decreases it substantially. The other problem is, hello Water Gun, right? So you're now moving, you're going to slow down Spark significantly. Water Gun was the other fast move. And if a lot of people have used Water Gun Lanturn for a couple reasons. One was because you're basically trapping like Galarian Stunfisk and stuff like that, where you had like bad matchups. 2, it makes it a much better matchup against like Swampert, or any ground where the electric was resisted. You're now hitting for neutral or super effective if it's just pure ground like Galarian Stunfisk. So now you just may see more Water Gun Swamperts, especially now that you see, we're going to go with the rankings, but like Carbink is number 1. And you have less Altaria because Sky Attack got nerfed, right? So you don't really need your flyers anymore because your Altaria and your Noctowl, as you're going to see, got nerfed substantially with the Sky Attack. So you don't need Spark as much. So maybe we're just going to see more Water Gun. So yes, they went after Lanturn. I just don't think that with this, it's going to substantially eliminate Lanturn like they wanted to. I still think you can use Spark, and I think you're going to see more Water Guns. So Lanturn, yes, nerfed. I'm not sold that it's nerfed a ton. Astonish is an interesting one. Astonish is one of those moves that is one of the worst fast moves in the game. So much so that like anytime that Astonish is the only fast move, they're not even like using it here because it's so bad. Some of these have access to Astonish. And I think Drifloom is probably one of the ones that we're going to talk about. So look, it even says low quality here. Hex is a pretty fast charging move. So the thing is like Astonish could be interesting because there are Pokemon who have it for either Little Cup. I think Little Cup, like Drifloon, would be interesting. Here, a lot of these other Pokemon already have stronger fast moves. Like Shadow Claw is one of the best fast moves in the game, and that's a Ghost. Hex is a pretty good fast charging move here. So Pumpkaboo is using like Razor Leaf. Maybe you see Astonish Buff here. Give it an option to actually use this instead of just having to use Razor Leaf because it's that. So maybe you see Astonish help jump these up. I'm not sure how much that will help, but it's definitely welcome. But I'm not truly sure about the full ramifications yet. I don't think it's gonna be a ton. Psychic Medicham. I said they're gonna nerf Psychic. I was right. They nerfed it 5. That's not gonna do anything. And you're gonna see Medicham actually went up in the rankings because the flyers went down substantially. The problem with Medicham is there's a few things. Its stat product is really high. So like its bulk and stuff like that. It still has access to counter, which is one of the best fast moves in the game. It still has this Ice Punch coverage for flyers. And Psychic going down from 90 to 85 is not actually going to flip a ton of matchups. Plus, you have other options for charge moves in Medicham that I have seen people run. For example, I've seen if you have Medicham in the back, you are often running Power Punch, Ice Punch anyways, right? Because you just try and trap Steels and Power Punch and ramp up there, and then you have like double super effective Ice Punches, or double buffed Ice Punches. Or you can just run Dynamic Punch. Having a stab Dynamic Punch is a beast of a move. I saw people run that. So the fact that they only nerfed this 5 is going to do absolutely nothing to Medicham. In fact, because they nerfed Flyer substantially, and they're nerfing Lanturn, which is an option to it. I think Medicham is now up in the rankings, and it should be because I think it's just grown stronger. So yes, good attempt, Niantic, not well done enough. So yes, you're gonna see people talking about, oh, Medicham is nerfed. Not really at all. This X-Scissor buff is huge. So for those of you who used X-Scissor before, X-Scissor was, I put it up there with Aerial Ace. Can I do? Okay, good. You guys put it. I put it up there with Aerial Ace, which also got buffed. It was one of the worst charge moves in the game. It was a pure bait move that like even hitting super effective, you still needed like 3 to take out a Cresselia. It was just terrible. So basically what they did was they increased the energy. So it actually costs more energy to get there, but they buffed the power substantially by 20. So 20 over 45 is like 40 and 45%. So they buffed it substantially. So now this is a pure increase for these X-Scissor users. Your only sort of, I guess, drawback is that if you were using it as a bait before you land your sort of nuke, so like Sneasler, X-Scissor bait, and then you land like multiple close combats, that's maybe where it got worse. But other than that, I think having X-Scissor, and where you're going to see it probably more is Ultra League Golisopod. Because Golisopod is already ranked so high, and now having a super strong move like X-Scissor not just being a terrible move, but actually having, especially with Shadow Claw, how fast energy generation is. Like I think Golisopod is gonna rise up the rankings in Ultra League. So definitely one worth looking at there, because it's gonna be very strong in Ultra League. And I'm probably in Great League. I don't know about Great League, but I've used in Great League is pretty good too. So that X-Scissor buff with a flyer getting lowered, maybe sneaky in the Great League. So look out for Golisopod. Aerial Ace. So Aerial Ace is an interesting one because I don't want to get demonetized. Everyone used to call it Aerial Ass because it was just such a bad move. It was so bad that it was just like, if it was one of your moves, you were always just like out of the top 100 essentially. The big winners are, again, are the Pokemon that had to run anyway. So you see a lot of things that, like, yes, these have it as well. Pidgeot has it, Mantine has it, but like they're not using it. Maybe Mantine uses it now instead of Bubble Beam Bait. For sure, that is an option. But it's these other Pokemon, Mandibuzz, Serperior, Tropius, that had to use it anyways, that are now getting the buff. So energy cost decreased. So it's not hitting harder, which is unfortunate because it's just such a bad move. But you're throwing it more. So potentially like more of a bait move. Again, the problem with that on these Pokemon is that, like, well, having a bait move when you have Frenzy Plant on Serperior is probably pretty good. But for the most part, having another, like, being able to throw air laces quicker on Tropius and Mandibuzz may be helpful. Maybe. I'm sure it'll give these a little kick up. I just don't think it's going to be substantial. But definitely will give them a kick up. Here's the big one. Skytack energy cost increase. And so obviously this is a direct attack on Noctowl. It also affects Altaria here. And Skarmory is dead. Unfortunately, Skarmory is dead. Because it was already getting walled by rocks and stuff, and which, like, now you have Carbink, which is going to be everywhere. Like, Skarmory's, unless you're running like Flash Cannon, Brave Bird maybe, to like sneak it, but Sky Attack Skarmory is just useless. This is direct attack on Altaria and Noctowl. What I'm going to just break up is the rankings, because PVPOKE has done updated rankings that not live yet, but these are the Flyers updated rankings, and look at where Altaria and Noctowl have dropped to. 69 for Altaria and 105 for Noctowl. That is a substantial fall, and I think it's a combo of a couple things. I think so Noctowl is actually, as you can see there, with the 7, that's how many fast moves it needs to get to it. So it used to be 665 or 655, something like that. So now that you actually have to do like a couple more wing attacks, will make it substantially worse. Is it down to 105? Again, this is just simulation there. And is Altaria down to, does that say 16? That actually says 89. Sorry, it's small. That is 89 on Altaria. So 89 and 105. Are they going to drop significantly with that? So here's the thing with these two, that I think that maybe this is a bit of an overreaction. Both Altaria and Noctowl still have great stat products. Very, very bulky Pokemon. Sort of unique typings. The normal flying and then like the dragon flying, right? So interesting from that perspective. They both have bulk, which is good. Altaria has just the Dragon Breath damage. Again, it sucks that it's going to take a little longer to get to Sky Attack, but the Dragon Breath damage is what the majority of the damage is done. So Altaria is going to drop a bit, sure. I think it drops more because you're going to see more Carbinks and stuff as opposed to seeing like the Sky Attack nerf. So I'm not less worried about Altaria. Noctowl, you do take an extra couple to get to it, which one of the problems was those Sky Attacks just came, and those Sky Attacks did chip a lot. So I do think Noctowl is going to see a substantial decrease in its overall play. I don't think it's dead. Again, top 105, top 100 is still like okay to play with. 105 is sort of like you're borderline there. So what you may just see is like so when I'm just looking at things in the past, like Trevenant, Walrein, Nidoqueen all received what were substantial nerfs at the time, and for the most part they all disappeared. And this seems like a substantial nerf to Noctowl. So could this disappear in the same way? Maybe just because that extra like 2 turns to get to, I think it's extra 1 turn, extra 1 the first time and extra 2 the second time to get that Sky Attack is significant when the Sky Attack does the majority of your damage in most matchups. So I think Noctowl nerf is legit. Sort of all the nerfs, you're going to see people talk about Medicham nerf, Lanturn nerfs. Those aren't too bad. Noctowl nerf, that's a bad one. That is a bad one for that Pokemon. But that is good that they targeted it because it was really, really overpowered in a lot of those matchups. Dig, they decreased the power. So the power is the damage that it does by 20, but they're also decreasing the energy cost. And I think a lot of people are now saying that Dig is a nice option on a couple Pokemon, and we'll go over those Pokemon in a second. Earthquake, again, this is one of the things where it's like, Earthquake this is just directly going after Galarian, Stunfisk, and Swampert, right? They're always top 10 in both Great League and Ultra League. This is direct attack on those two. As you can see in the top there, the next actual thing that uses Earthquake is Gligar. And then Digger's Beat. But Digger's Beat is also getting a new move, which we'll talk about that in a second. So direct effect on these two. Will it affect the rankings? Yeah. Will it be substantial? No. I bet you if I remember, they're probably still both in the top 10. And as they should be. Like, again, you're still great typing. Earthquake still, again, yes, less damage. 110 is still a lot of damage, right? So a lot of damage is still being done. Again, with Swampert, you're mostly relying on those Hydros anyways. So where it hurts is like in some of those like neutral matchups. I'll give an example in like the Ultra League Tapu Fini, where you had to go like Earthquake and then Hydro. Maybe that's probably where it's now going to hurt you. You won't be able to do that. Same thing with Stunfisk. Like maybe Stunfisk is probably not one-shotting, not mud-shotting and earthquaking Registeel, maybe not anymore. Like it's just little things like that you're gonna see. But overall, still a very strong Pokemon. So will they go down a bit? Sure. Much? No. Poltergeist, Boomburst, these are both just jokes. Poltergeist the problem was not that it didn't hit hard, they just made it hit harder. The problem is that it takes so long to get to. So increasing the damage is not going to do anything to this, and increasing the cost on a terrible move is still terrible. So again, when they directly went after Spark, you had to give Magnemite, Magneton, and Magnezone the fast attack Volt Switch, or else you are, while going after Lanturn, negatively affecting them. So they needed to give these three other options as a fast move, and Volt Switch is a pretty good fast move. So again, Magneton and Magnezone. So Magnezone in sort of Ultra League, Master League, Magneton in Great League, especially limited cups. Very strong as it is. Volt Switch will probably make it pretty good overall. The fast attack Mudshot. So Swallow with Mudshot, Greedent, and then Toxicroak. So Greedent, I think that Greedent Mudshot is more energy generation than the current Bullet Seed. So this thing was already spamming before. This thing is just gonna be spamming out moves like every 2 turns, essentially. Not really, but like 2 to 3 turns. This thing's just gonna be spamming. So Greedent with Mudshot, I think, is an upgrade for sure. Especially that like a lot of things, yeah, because like Bullet Seed had that like little more damage, but like not way slower, but like slower energy generation. So you'd much rather just have a little less damage, but like quicker energy generation. So 100% upgrade on Swalot and Greedent. Toxicroak, you will never use Mudshot. You will only ever use Counter. There's no reason to use it. This thing is so glassy, but it hits really, really hard. There's no point of just landing Mud Bombs and Sludge Bombs. You need that counter damage. Counter still gets to those Mud Bombs very quickly. Again, Toxicroak will never... someone might use it for spice thinking it's funny. You're not going to... No. Use Counter. Use Counter. Breaking Swipe on a lot of stuff. And I haven't truly looked at... So I saw a couple people talking about the Heliolisk online. But the 2 big ones everyone's talking about is, I guess, 3. Onix, Steelix, and Rhyperior. So Onix, Onix is just basically Little Cup. So Little Cup, Onix basically didn't have anything to throw. You just kind of... It had like a mud... What's the mud one that lowers your defense? It has the charge move is a mud one that lowers your defense, but basically it's like a rock fast move, and then you lower your defense. Now you have the option to lower their attack if you want to just slow through that. The big one is Steelix, because Steelix is already pretty good in Ultra League, but you used it basically with Psychic Fangs and then either Crunch or Earthquake as your coverage move. So being able to have a Dragon Tail fast move and a Breaking Swipe charge move, basically running a Dragon move set with your bulk and your typing, is really interesting. You will need something like Earthquake to deal with fairies, because you're going to have a fast move Dragon and a charge move Dragon with Break and Swipe. But being able to either one bait or two lower their just attack substantially, like one each time, and then just Dragon Tail and like either switch lock them or force them out, is going to make Steelix quite stronger. And Rhyperior, again, Rhyperior already has sort of niche play in the Master League. So maybe if they have a Master League Premier, which I did not see on the list, but I did not look that hard. It's already so niche in Master League. I think that, no, they're not even doing Master League. They're not even doing Master League Premier. So it's just open Master League constantly now. It's not even a Master League Premier. I think this is the second season in a row they haven't had Master League Premier. So it already has sort of niche play. I think some people said like, yes, it makes it better, but I don't think it's not going to break its way into the meta. It's funny because I mentioned in my videos like, oh man, if another Pokemon gets Shuriken, it's going to be insane. And someone mentioned there's only one Pokemon that can get it, and it's this Pokemon. Well, they got it. So there we go. Good for them. Apparently it's still a bad Pokemon. The charge attack Blaze Kick. So the problem is most of these Pokemon, you're not going to be using this move anyways. Most of these Pokemon are just kind of niche at best that aren't strong. Someone said like Lucario, you can use Blaze Kick, but like Lucario's so glassy, you probably want Power Punch to ramp up, or you want Shadow Ball for coverage. I don't know why you'd use Blaze Kick. So for me, this just seems like a nothing update here. A bunch of Pokemon got Razor Shell. Again, a lot of these Pokemon are kind of useless. Let me see if Razor Shell is in here. So Razor Shell, that's not even in here. Is it no, it's not a new move. I'm surprised. Oh, it's a charge move, that's why. So Razor Shell is a 35 damage, 35 energy, 50% chance of lowering your opponent's defense, versus what it has now in Liquidation, which is 45 energy but 70 damage. So I don't know why you would want to use this. You're telling me for 10 more energy, I'll get 40 more damage and only a 20% chance less of getting the defense drop. For me, I think Liquidation is probably what you're going to want to keep on Golisopod and just run it with the new buffed X-Scissor and Liquidation. I'll run a full analysis in a video. I guess I could just do it right now. I guess you would want to do it in the Ultra League. Golisopod. Again, this is just have with X-Scissor as it currently is. So keep that in mind. But we can just put this in just to see if there's any direct difference here against the main Ultra League meta. My guess is that it's probably worse, and my guess would be right. Liquidation is 6 plus 1 extra tie better. So yeah, that's kind of what I expected. So no, don't. It's not worth using. Just keep on the Liquidation. And Magical Leaf, again, the problem with these grass Pokemon is, one, this Magical Leaf apparently is like okay. So get Magical Leaf, Trailblaze, a bunch of Pokemon, triple. So yeah, let's just talk about the grass first, because apparently like the problem with the grass type move is like, it's not like a lot of these Pokemon. It's just that the moves aren't good enough. Like if you're using grass is such a bad typing in this meta just because it's so weak to like a ton of things. Fire, ice, flying, can't hit against steels, can't hit against flyers. So just like a very, very bad typing overall for Pokemon Go battling. And these moves, unless they're like a Razor Leaf, not Razor Leaf, I mean, unless you want to use like a Razor Leafer, or Frenzy Plant, these sort of moves that are like, I guess Magic Leaf is like energy generation. So it's not, you want to just use like hard hitting moves, or I guess you can use like good charging fast moves, but then you still need, I think you still need like a Frenzy. So Meganium, let's just check Meganium in the Great League. If I can do that, let's do Meganium with Vine Whip, and then Meganium with this fast move of Magical Leaf. I don't even think it gets better over Vine Whip. I think Vine Whip is probably the better move against the Great League meta. I think Vine Whip is probably going to give you more wins, but let me check. 2 more wins with Vine Whip, right? So again, the fast move is not substantially changing a lot of these matches. If you already have a good fast move, maybe it'll change like some of these. But for the most part, I think it's just kind of useless. A lot of people are talking about Gardevoir with triple Axel as the charge move. It's a new charge move. I'll have to see in the move updates. I don't want to just like hang on these other moves. I just want to talk about the ones that I know for sure are going to make a difference. And because they, where are you? I just saw you, Ninetales. Ninetales. Again, for those of you who've been around for a while, Ninetales has been my bread and butter Pokemon that I've gone to since like the early seasons of Pokemon Go. Was my secret weapon, and then between the Lanturn and everything else, it just got nerfed. The problem was you had to run just a straight fire move set, either Fire Spin or Ember on the lead, and then like Weather Ball is like the little one, and then like a nuke in Overheat. You now have coverage for Rock, and you have coverage for Lanturn, and Water Pokemon. So you actually have a move to throw. So it probably won't flip a lot of those matchups, but it won't get you walled. So I am very, very interested in running Ninetales. Again, the problem was you often used it. I used it as like Fire Spin Weather Ball was such a good just fast spamming combo, and I loved Overheat as a nuke. So getting rid of a nuke just for coverage moves, I don't know if that is substantially better, but it's something that I'm definitely going to try out. And Flygon. No, not Flygon. Where is... So I think Excadrill, they said Excadrill gets better instead of having German with Scorching Sands. Where is... Not Flygon. Is it something else I got? What's the... I thought that... Oh, that's why. It's not getting... Sorry. I was thinking, I'm like, everyone was talking about Gligar online. Gligar isn't getting Searching Sands. It has Dig. So it's going to have a stab move that it now quicker to get to. So that is why that has jumped up. So what I will bring up is the PVPOKE sort of rankings that you haven't seen yet that are going to be going live probably when the moves comes over. Again, it's very, very small. So I'm going to make this bigger and zoom in here. But unfortunately, what you're seeing is not much of a difference with a little bit of a difference. So again, Carbink's still number 1. You're going to probably see it a lot more. There's still a bunch of fighters and steals. Again, Medicham, even with Psychic here, even with a Nerf Psychic, is now up to number 2, which is what I said. It's not a real Nerf. So it's kind of like not a buff, but like it's just because Flyers got nerfed substantially. So Medicham is actually probably better. But you still have Registeel high. Galarian Stunfisk, again, I said Galarian Stunfisk and Swampert are probably still in the top 10. Shadow Swampert is at 6 and Galarian Stunfisk at 9. Again, Earthquake hurts him a little bit, not a ton. But Lickitung, Double, Sableye, Cresselia, all were in the top. So Gligar is new. But yeah, so there's the Gligar with interesting, right? Wing Attack, which got buffed 3 seasons ago. Air Release and Dig, which both got buffed this season. So you have 3 buff moves on Gligar. Gligar is more bulkier than Gliscor. and you used to run it with Aerial Ace, which was a bad move, and Return. But now, or you can run it with Night Slash. It has Night Slash as well, so you can run Aerial Ace for Night Slash and then Return. But now you can run Aerial Ace for coverage and then Dig as a nice stab ground move. So love to see that there. But as we go down, Machamp, Scrafty, Swampert, Steelix with the Breaking Swipe, again, we'll get an increase just because you're able to do that. But like I said, you need that Earthquake for coverage. But again, Hitmontop was okay. Hitmontop with triple Axel. So that is interesting that is that high. I guess, what are the stats on triple Axel? I lowered the screen, but let me just see if triple Axel is somewhere over here, or was it in a previous one? Triple Axel is a 60 power and increases attack by 1 stage. Ah, that is probably why. It is a 60 power move that still hurts. It's an ice type move, so Hitmontop, a fighter, is now getting flying coverage with an ice type charge attack that increases its attack of counter, which is one of the best fast moves in the game. So you're going to have a buff counter and with flyer coverage. So that makes sense with a nuke close combat. So that makes sense why Hitmontop is so high, because you're going to either buff your attack with an ice move, or you're just going to close combat nuke. I've used Hitmontop before. It's fun to use with just counter close combat. So having that move, that makes sense why it is buffed up there. And then Greedent, like I said, you want to use Greedent with Mudshot because it is now spammier. And now Body Slam and Crunch, you're just going to you got bulk and you're just going to spam the crap out of that. Vigoroth is still good, and a Ninetales. So again, has the meta changed substantially? No. Are there new Pokemon that you can now use in this meta? Yeah, like I said, I think Gligar will have play. I think Steelix will have more play in this meta. Hitmontop, yes, that makes sense with the triple Axel. Greedent will bump up because Mudshot is very spammy. But for the most part, this top 25 is the top 25 that you're used to seeing, right? Outside, so Lantern's dropped down a bit. Again, I don't think Lanturn has gone huge. And if you actually use Surf on it against, if this top 25 meta is coming in, you want to use not Surf, Water Gun on it. You're now hitting super effective Water Gun on Carbink, Gligar, Stunfisk. Steelix is half ground. Glizzcore, right? Lots of things weak to water there, so you might not see Spark Lanturn as much. You might just see Water Gun Lanturn more. So keep that in mind. But yeah, the flyers are noticeably gone more, but it's not even just the flyers gone more. It's now you have another Steel and Steelix in the top here, and some ice type moves coming out in triple Axel, right? So yeah, flyers probably are taking a hit this season, and they're trying to buff grass, but again, grass just has sort of limited play as is. So that is my quick analysis. 43 minutes into a video, holy smokes. That is my analysis based on, again, not having PVPOKE rankings out, not having played with these Pokemon. That's my just realistic analysis of what they're trying to do here. Again, pros and cons. I do have issues with the actual leagues, and I still think it's gonna be stale at times, and especially with like some of those bad cups there. But they're trying. They're trying. They did directly try to go after Lanturn, Noctowl, Medicham. They tried. I don't think successfully. I think Medicham actually got stronger. I think their Lanturn still has tons of play, especially with Water Gun, and Noctowl actually did take a substantial nerf, so they got 1 out of 3 right. Yeah, I'm interested to see if the Great League meta changes substantially. I will do a more in-depth, probably, well, PVPOKE says he's not going to update this till Friday night, and by that time, league turnover, right? So we're actually going to try some of these Pokemon. For sure, I'm going to try Ninetales. Like, I promise you I will try. I have Gligar already built up, so I will use Gligar. I will use Steelix. I probably have one of those. I will use Hitmontop. I have that already. Of course, I will use Ninetales with its new move. So stay tuned for that. And I will probably call every single one of these beyond the hype, because unfortunately, not unfortunately, it's part of the game. I don't blame them. I do not blame the YouTubers for doing this. There is two things that get click and get you more views: hype and basically posting first. So you'll see Yonkis and Home Slice always trying to be in the first to post new Pokemon when they come out. They have like friends in New Zealand who get the Pokemon and like get them footage so they can be the first to go out. And that is why yesterday morning, let me actually just open up to see how many videos each of them have done in the first 12 hours. Because this is just trying to get the first. I remember Zyna posted 3 in an hour, and I was just like, what are you doing? And I'm like, I know what you're doing. You're just capitalizing on this, right? So within within an hour of the news happening, Zynek had posted 3 videos, Yonkis had posted 2, Home Slice has posted it, and Rise had posted it. And then later on, Yonkis posted a 3rd one, and then Tho got on it, and then Purple Kyogre on it. And so I'm a little late to the game because I have a full-time job and I was in the office, and then I came home and I had to watch my kids and then give them baths and give them to bed. And now it is 10:17 at night, and I just made a 46-minute video talking about what everyone talked about yesterday, but I'm giving you the honest version. Beyond the hype, what actually changes, what won't change, and I will give you honest opinions about every single one of these Pokemon, because I am a free-to-play player and I do not want you to build Pokemon unnecessarily. If someone talks about like, oh, this Pokemon is amazing, you have to use it, and then you use it and it's terrible because they were just hyping it up for views, we're going to give you honest reviews here. So stay tuned for all those honest reviews of these Pokemon. That is it. I'm going to upload this and edit and go to bed because I got like 2 hours of sleep last night. Anyways, that is it. Thanks for watching. And I'll see you guys tomorrow for 2 top teams for Great League and this little cup that are on. And then I guess I'll post a new video on Saturday and Sunday for the league turnover. Anyways, that's it. Thanks for watching. See you guys in the next one.